But the night before your speech, one of your associates mistakenly put several copies of it on a table in the press room, and the copies began to circulate, and the alarms went off. What can you remember of that?
Well, I remember very well a note was put under my door from my arrested saying, you need to come to a meeting. There's some concern about your speech, what you're proposing to say. And I attended the meeting. There were representatives from the different heads of organization, and some of the people were there. And we had a very tense discussion about what I would say and not say. Near the end of the speech, more than anything else, people were concerned about the end, but throughout they started analyzing certain words and phrases. And I remember one line I said, you tell us to wait. You tell us to be patient. We cannot wait. We cannot be patient. We want our freedom and we want it now. And Bob Rustin said to me, he was joking, just joking. He said, John, you can't say, you cannot be patient. Said the Catholic Church believe in being patient. He was just kidding me. But then there were some people who said something like, in the speech you're saying revolution, black masses. What are you talking about? And A. Philip Randolph came to my rescue. He said, there's nothing wrong with the use of the word black masses. I use it myself sometimes. There's nothing wrong with the use of the word revolution. I use it myself. So for the most part, we kept that in there. But near the end of the speech, the original text, I said, if we do not see meaningful progress here today, the day may come when we will not confine our marching on Washington, but we may be forced to march through the South the way Sherman did, nonviolently. They said, oh no, you can't go there. and that stayed in the speech until we got to the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. And both A. Philip Randolph and Dr. King and Mr. Wilkin came to me. And at one point I said to Roy Wilkin, I said, Mr. Wilkin, this speech represents the young people in the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee and all of the people, the indigenous people in Alabama and Georgia and Mississippi and all across the South. And he sort of walked away, sort of backed off. Then Mr. Randolph and Dr. King came back and said, Dr. King said, John, this doesn't sound like you. And Mr. Randolph said something like, we come this far together, John. Let's stay together. And I couldn't say no to A. Philip Randolph. I couldn't say no to Martin Luther King Jr.
So you agreed to some changes. You took out the words criticizing the president's bill as being too little and too late. You took out the call to march through the heart of Dixie the way Sherman did. You took out the question asking which side is the federal government on. You took out the reference to some political leaders as cheap. And you took them out, you're saying, because you were on the team and because you honored A. Philip Randolph and Martin Luther King, who said, John, some of those words don't sound like you.
I did it, and as I look back and think about it 50 years later, I think it was the right thing to do. I have always tried to be a team player and try not to violate any principles or violate my philosophy.
But were you angry at yourself at the time?
I don't think I was angry. I think I had a sense of righteous indignation.
Let us not forget that we are involved in a serious social revolution. By and large, American politics is dominated by politicians who build their career on immoral compromise and ally themselves an open form of political, economic, and social exploitation. Where is our party? Where is the political party that will make it unnecessary to march on Washington? Where is the political party that will make it unnecessary to march in the streets of Birmingham? Where is the political party that will protect the citizen of Albany, Georgia?
So what did you mean in that opening line there? Let us not forget that we're involved in a social revolution.
What I was trying to suggest, this is not child play. This is not something today and it's gone tomorrow. that we need a revolution of values. We need a revolution of ideas. We need to humanize. I didn't make it plain, I didn't make it clear, but find a way to humanize our politics, to humanize our political institutions, our business, our education institution, and look out for the people. Neither of the two major political parties was being responsive to the needs, not just of African American, but there was a lot of Americans that had been left out and left behind. They were low-income whites, they were Latinos, Native American, women, children. The March on Washington, August 20, 1963, was all inclusive. It was not a black march. We wanted everyone to participate. We wanted to really, as I said before, to move toward the creation of an American at peace with itself, the beloved community, where no one will be left out or left behind. And it didn't matter your race or your color.
Your words got through. Your message took some hope, some shape when the Democrats, with liberal Republicans, started pushing the Civil Rights Act of '64 and the Voting Rights Act of '65.
I think after the March on Washington and with President Johnson as president, represented some of the best days of modern America. The Civil Rights Act was passed, bipartisan effort. It was one of the defining hours for the Congress. As some would say, we got things done. We accomplished something.
I want to play a part of your speech that also got directly, subsequently, into the important legislation that came out in '64 and '65.
We must have legislation that will protect the Mississippi sharecropper, who is put off of his farm because he dared to register to vote. We need a bill that will provide for the homeless and starving people of this nation. We need a bill that will ensure the equality of a maid who earns $5 a week in the home of a family whose total income is $100,000 a year. We must have a good FEPC bill.
You call for the FEPC